Welcome to the Betty Rocker Show, the place to be to nourish your mind, love your body, and rock your life. What's up, Rockstar? Coach Betty Rocker here. It's so good to have you back. Thank you so much for joining me. Today, I wanted to talk about something that comes up all the time because, we've all seen at this point those skinny detox teas online. We've seen the diet pills, the fat burners. We've seen the body wraps that are supposed to shrink your stomach. All of these crazy fast fixes that are supposed to speed up us seeing results are really tempting, especially when you have been working your program. Maybe you've been doing your workouts really consistently. You've been eating really well, and you're just not seeing the results that you think you should be. And they're just not happening fast enough. So it's really tempting to want to use some of those shortcuts or fast fixes. And I really worry about those things because they can be extremely debilitating for your metabolism. They can really mess with your hormones. They can really cause a lot of long-term damage to your overall body's system when you use them. And like pretty much anyone will tell you who's ever used them long-term, they end up making you go right back to where you started, and sometimes worse when you stop using them. So the truth is there really aren't any fast fixes, but the good news is there are lots of ways that you can speed up the rate at which you see results. One of the biggest culprits that actually undermines us seeing results is thinking that change isn't happening. It may just be the way that we're measuring our success, or it's that we don't actually have the full picture of what is actually changing. This is why, when it comes to pictures, I always recommend taking consistent, consecutive progress pictures as you go through your journey at regular intervals, say once a week, maybe every Sunday at 10 a.m. in the same lighting, wearing the same outfit, maybe a sports bra and underwear or a bathing suit. Something so you can really see your physique. And I really recommend that you take these progress pictures full length. So you may need to set up your camera or your phone against the wall somewhere or have someone help you and take those pictures from the back, the side, and the front so that you get a full length, full body view, not just focused on your butt or your stomach. So many of the progress pictures that I see are just these close-ups of someone's stomach or just a quick shot from the thigh to the chest. And the problem is when we just hyper-focus on these key areas of our body that we most want to see change, we miss the progress and changes that are happening in other parts of our body. Another issue with this, of course, is using the scale as our only indication of how well we're doing. A lot of us tend to look at the scale weight as our primary progress indicator. And the trouble with the scale is that it really just measures one number. It measures your entire body mass. It doesn't measure how much muscle you're carrying versus how much fat you're carrying. And as you progress through your training, those numbers and those ratios, which are known as your body composition, start to shift in a favorable direction, as in you add more lean muscle to your body and you lose more body fat. And those are really interesting numbers because as you are adding lean muscle, muscle is denser than fat. It takes up way less space. It's much more compact. It's the tight tone shape that gives your body the curves and the shape that really are what a lot of us mention that we're looking for when it comes to that lean, fit physique. It's not just fat loss alone that gives you that toned look. It's really adding the lean muscle that does that. What I'm saying about the difference between fat and muscle that's relevant to the scale weight conversation is that as you start to lose your body fat, and remember, body fat takes up much more space in your body than the muscle does, your body composition changes. Your clothes start to fit differently. However, because as you're adding that lean muscle, your scale weight may not change quite as much as you're expecting it to. So even though you may be looking in the mirror or noticing that your clothes are fitting differently, just looking at that number on the scale and wanting it to go to a certain set point that you have in your head that's you at your best. And that number may not actually be a good indication of you being fit or you being healthy or you being strong or you being lower in body fat. It may have been that another time in your life you were lower in body fat and you just had less muscle on your body. These days, you may actually want to add a little bit more muscle to your frame. And if you're using one of my training programs, it's very likely that you are putting on some lean muscle, especially if you're eating the whole foods and the nutrients that I'm suggesting. These are some of the reasons why you will feel like you're not seeing results as fast as you want to, because you're weighing yourself as the sole indicator, or you're taking progress pictures only of your stomach or certain parts of your body. Now, when I say that you want to take the full length picture of your body in order to see the true progress, I'm talking about looking for things like, where am I adding muscle to my frame? Is my posture improving? And it's possible that fat is coming off of your body, maybe subtly, but it's happening in other parts of your body that you're not even noticing because you're so focused just on one area of your body. And for a lot of us, it's our stomach, our thighs, or our butt. And these areas, especially on us ladies, are the areas where our body fat usually comes off the last. And the order that our body fat comes on and comes off is really out of our control. It's governed by our genetics, our DNA. And what's really important is to not get discouraged when you are going through your program, when you are exercising regularly and eating healthily, when you have built these really good habits into your life. It's so important not to get discouraged or get sidetracked or try those fast fixes, and because it'll just derail you, and it can also discourage you and make you feel like you're not seeing results fast enough. And if you just stay the course and you look at your body holistically and can actually start to see some of the changes that are happening, you are probably getting in shape at a very healthy and sustainable pace. And that's really key. We want to be able not only to get into great shape, to get stronger, to get fit, we want to be able to maintain that and potentially continue to add additional challenges to our lives as we go through time. So fat is just one of those funny things that, some of us think like, if I just do a bunch of crunches or if I just do a lot of ab workouts, the fat's going to come off my stomach faster and I'll be able to see my abs. Fat just doesn't come off that way. We can't spot reduce it. We can't target it by just training a certain part of our body. Sure, you might be building more muscle in that part of your body, but until you burn off the body fat, you're not going to be able to see those killer abs, right? So fat comes off, like I said, systemically. It comes off in the order that it came on, which is governed by genetics. And we really need to do an overall balanced training and eating program in order to really see that fat come off. And we cannot get discouraged just because we don't see it coming off the area we most want to see it come off of all at once. We have to look for the changes that are happening all over our body. And that is what will really help you see the changes that you're making. And when you see some progress, remember that is progress, and keep going because it will catch up to the areas that you most want to see the changes in. Now, one of the things that I often hear about from people is that, well, if I do these workouts, and they're effective for me, then probably doing more of them would be more effective for me because, more is going to clearly give me more results. This is a fallacy. Doing more workouts won't necessarily give you more results. Now, following a balanced, consistent training program and staying consistent with it will really give you great results, especially when you're balancing it with proper nutrition from whole foods and good quality sleep, managing your stress. Of course, we're talking about the 4 pillars of health. So one thing you really want to be mindful of that can slow down your progress is overtraining. Overtraining, doing too much, can burn out your adrenals, can give you increased inflammation in your body, which will slow down your results. It will lower your immune system, and it can make you more injury prone. So it's just something that you really want to pay attention to. Now, you want to come to each workout that you have able to give fully 100% to the workout that you're doing. Because this, of course, will give you better results. If you're coming in to every workout really tired or really sore from the last workout that you did, which can happen as you accumulate too many workouts on top of each other, you will burn out. It will make you won't be able to perform at as high of a level, and your results will really, really suffer. Exercising too much can also set you up for chronic tiredness, a real lack of weight loss, which is the opposite of what a lot of people want. Your system, when it's stressed out, will simply make you hold on to body fat. And you're definitely more likely to get injured on muscle tissue that hasn't fully recovered. And that's something that can really set you back and be extremely frustrating. When you can't train because you've injured yourself, that is the last thing you want, right? So just be really, really mindful of this overtraining issue. So muscle, actually, that muscle that we were talking about before that we want to add to our frame to give us the tone and the shape and the sculpt, that grows when we rest it. It's not actually growing when we're training it, contrary to a lot of our popular beliefs. We want that muscle. We want to add that muscle. It's adding muscle to your frame is not going to make you big and bulky. We want to add muscle because muscle, of course, creates the shape and the tone and the structure of our physique. Muscle also burns more calories at rest. So the more muscles you have, the bigger your resting energy expenditure rate is, which means that your body is going to burn more calories while you're basically sitting around doing nothing. Muscle also protects your joints and supports your posture. It provides you with the strength you need to perform all of your daily tasks. And it's also an endocrine organ, which means that it secretes hormones that influence your metabolism and signaling pathways involved in fat oxidation. So you want to really preserve and add muscle to your body, especially as you go through time. One of the big issues with aging, of course, is sarcopenia, which is the loss of muscle and the breakdown of muscle. And for all of us ladies, it's just so essential to continue to add and hold on to muscle as we go through time because of this effect that it has on our metabolism and our ability to complete all of our daily tasks, to protect our joints and bones. And, just be really mindful of your energy expenditure and the type of workouts that you're doing. We all have a variety of goals. We all have a variety of places that we're starting from. So really let your fitness level and the way your body feels after your workout be your guide for how recovered you are. Remember what I said, muscle doesn't grow when we're training it. It grows when we're resting it. So during an actual workout, we're creating a type of inflammation in the body tissue. We're actually breaking down that muscle tissue. And during sleep and during the rest and recovery period, our muscle tissue is able to rebuild and regrow even stronger than before. And this is part of how our muscles get stronger. Now, this is another reason why I say don't train when you're sick or injured, because your body's immune system, your immune response is already involved in helping you get well, helping you feel better. And all of those little helper cells are working towards whatever the injury is. They're working towards making you feel better if you have the flu, for example. And the last thing you want to do is send all of those guys to help repair your muscle tissue. You're basically dividing your troops. And that's really going to slow down your progress, and it could keep you sick longer. It could make your injury take longer to heal. So you really want to be very mindful of not training when you're sick or injured, or overtraining in general, because it can create the same kind of issues involving your inflammatory response, making you sicker, making you more prone to get sick, making you more prone to get injured. This is something that I get asked a lot in our Rock Your Life group. People will say, well, if one challenge is good, isn't two challenges better? And I always caution them, because I say, each challenge is written so that each day is something different than the day before. And you have rest days built into these programs for a reason. There's high intensity days and lower intensity days to give your body a chance to recover and get stronger. So if you're taking two programs that have been written for completely different sequencing and stacking them on top of each other, well, you're not going to get an adequate recovery after you've done each workout. You might be just stacking stuff on top of each other, and then the next day you're stacking more stuff, and the next day you're stacking more stuff, and that doesn't allow your body the chance to fully recover, and you are just going to end up getting super burned out. I've seen it time and time again, and I hate seeing it, but this is why we always advise people in Rock Your Life, take one challenge at a time. And if you feel like you need more, if you're like, oh my gosh, I have more time than this challenge, this challenge today was 20 minutes long, and I came out of that workout feeling like I had more to give. I had another 20 minutes later in the day that I could have done another workout. So why don't you do the same workout again the same day? Train those same muscles again that same day and really fatigue them. If you didn't push so hard in that first 20-minute workout that you're super fried and you're done for the day and you have more to give, do the same workout again, or even do another round of that workout while you're doing the first workout. This will help your body really, really dig deep into the muscles that we're planning to train that day so that the next day you can either completely recover or train different muscles. This will help you see results faster. This is super, super important to understand, and it will really, really help you so much. More is not necessarily more when it comes to seeing results with your training. I know a lot of the time we think less is more when it comes to our food, and that's not true either, right? Where do these crazy ideas come from? Probably the same place that the skinny tea came from, right? Let's talk a little bit more about training and what kind of training is the most effective and what kind of training will help you get the best results. In my experience, what I've seen is a combination of resistance training and explosive cardio. So not just doing cardio alone. We mentioned earlier how if you're just trying to lose fat and you're not trying to add any lean muscle to your frame, you end up in this condition that used to be called skinny fat, right? And it's just sort of like a flabby, maybe it's skinny, but it's a little bit flabby. And there isn't a lot of muscle tone and body strength. And I think in order to go through time well and strong and fit and to be able to protect our joints, have good posture and alignment, and to be able to protect our bone density, it's essential to be doing some resistance training. Now, when I say resistance training, that doesn't mean you have to suddenly buy a gym membership or start throwing heavy weights around. Don't throw heavy weights around. Pick them up carefully and set them down by bending your knees, please. When you're talking about resistance training, you can do resistance training in so many ways. Oh my gosh. If you've ever done my 90-day challenge, for example, you know all about how freaking strong and fit you get from doing those body weight progressive exercises. There are so many creative ways to use your body against gravity to really get super, super strong and super fit. I love body weight training. I write a ton of body weight programs. And if you find my body weight programs fun, you'll notice that they're not just about strength and resistance against gravity. They're also added in explosive cardio, because it's definitely been shown that for fat loss, high intensity interval training, things like Tabatas, fast circuits, short bursts of exercise with limited recovery have been very effective for fat loss. Steady state cardio can also be effective for fat loss. It's not that it's ineffective. It can just be really hard on your joints. If all you're doing is running, it can be very hard on your joints. You also can be really boring, and your body needs variety. So if you're on the elliptical every day for 45 minutes, just looking at how many calories you burned, your brain gets tired of that. Your body gets tired of that, and you will burn less calories over time. You'll be less effective in your fat loss efforts because your body needs to be challenged. So it's really fun and optimal to add in explosive cardio to the mix. So quick bursts of 15-minute sessions, even a 7-minute session can be fantastic. The way that I write a lot of the workout programs that I teach include both explosive cardio elements and resistance training. Now, resistance training can also clearly be done with stretchy bands, with weighted objects, anything from gallon water jugs, water bottles, books. You've seen videos of me using all kinds of props for resistance. And of course, dumbbells are great, and so are barbells. I love all the types of resistance training that there are. One of the best things that we can do as women, is really, as we go through our 40s, 50s, and 60s and beyond, is to increase our bone density, like I mentioned before, by doing workouts like this, by adding in resistance training. And these will just really help you with your longevity and be stronger as you go through time. Muscle it is harder to build and maintain as we age. So many of us really start losing our muscle around age 30. And physically inactive people can experience anywhere from a 3 to 5% reduction in lean muscle mass every decade after that, which is scary, right? This is due in part to lower testosterone levels in men as they age and lower estrogen levels in women. Both of those hormones do help build muscle. And changes in nerve and blood cells in the body not converting amino acids to muscle tissue as efficiently, among other factors. But muscle loss really doesn't have to be inevitable. We can stay active and keep strength training going to avoid what I was mentioning before, the sarcopenia, which is muscle wasting, and keep ourselves healthy over time. Now, when it comes to seeing results faster and why we want to add that lean muscle, which we talked about, we want to use resistance training to help us do these things, to help not only help us in the moment see results faster, but also, my gosh, to help us through time as we go through time. So resistance training clearly helps us build muscle. Resistance training improves our bone density. Resistance training promotes fat-free body mass. So the lean muscle mass that we all work so hard for does decrease with age. So if we don't strength train, we can end up just getting some of that flabby sort of skinny fat effect that we don't want. Resistance training also increases the strength of our connective tissue, our muscles and tendons. This really leads to improved motor performance and decreases our risk of injury. Resistance training also improves our quality of life. I feel so much more confident when I'm able to pick up heavy things around my house, move my deck furniture around, pick the laundry up, and I know the good form that I need to use, keep my weight back in my heels, engage my core as I squat down to pick up a heavy object off of the floor. When I'm cleaning my house, I feel like I get a great workout and I use great form when I do it. If I'm shoveling snow, I'm really mindful of my shoulder position, right? I shift my weight around. And I've learned a lot of that from the form tips doing resistance training. And that is a lot of what I teach in my workout programs, so that you not only get a great workout while you're working out with me, but you also get a great opportunity to sort of integrate those form cues into your body so that you can take them out into your everyday life. So last words on cardio. Low impact cardio is also very good for us and very effective. And for example, my favorite form of low impact cardio is walking. If you can get out and go for a walk every day, not only do you get the important vitamin D from the natural sunlight, it's the best way to get vitamin D when it's converted through your skin from the absorption from the sun, and you don't need much. And you go for a walk, just take a walk. And if you want to make your walk more challenging, wear a weighted vest or carry some rocks or a couple bricks and a backpack. Go out there and go for a walk and listen to my podcast or listen to some of my friends' podcasts or do a language lesson, get yourself out walking. It's great low impact cardio and it will help you burn fat, and especially if you're consistent with it. So you don't have to do a ton of jumping around and high impact stuff to make this really effective. There are lots of different ways to approach fat loss, and there are lots of different ways to approach your training when it comes to resistance training. I just really recommend that you combine those two really important elements if you want to see the fastest results in your physique and in your transformation. Now, another really important thing that we all need to do is get a good night's sleep. I mentioned earlier that when you rest, when you're sleeping, your body is actually repairing from the day before. So your body goes through different sleep cycles, and it's your third, I believe it's your third sleep cycle, your NREM 3 and 4. So when you enter the deep sleep cycle, your brain waves start to slow down. The delta waves, they start to predominate. And human growth hormone is released. And this is the most restorative stage of your sleep. And this is what repairs your body and helps your muscle tissue repair from the stressors that you put on them that day. And it's absolutely essential to be able to get good quality sleep so that you can have this repair process happen. During this stage of sleep, your immune system also restores itself. Your brain begins a filtering process, which is where it's cleaning out sort of non-essential information. And that's preparing you for REM sleep, which you're probably most familiar with. REM, of course, is when we dream. So we really, really want to make sure that we're getting into those deeper stages of sleep, getting the deep sleep. That's the most healing sleep that there is. And in order to get a good night's sleep, it may be essential for you to really check out your sleep environment and take a look around. I like to look at my sleep environment with a view to my 5 senses. So I'll give you this little fun sleep hack. The first one, of course, is sight. So when you're sleeping, do you have light exposure on your body? Your skin actually has receptors that sense light. So even if you have a sleep mask on, which, by the way, is an awesome, awesome thing to do, you may have, if there's too much light coming into your room and your skin is exposed to the light, that can wake you up before you want to, and it can prevent you from getting into a deep state of sleep. So watch out for night lights in your room or bright lights on your devices keeping you awake or touching your skin in any way. Just be aware of that. When it comes to light, our bodies are all on a circadian rhythm, which is governed by the light cycle, so light and dark. And it's just so important that as the sun starts to go down, we're very mindful of how much light exposure we have coming into our eyes, because one of the hormones that we need to start to naturally rise as the evening progresses is melatonin. And if we're constantly being exposed to bright light or light in general from our TV, from our phone, from the lights in our houses that are very bright, that melatonin won't rise naturally. And melatonin tells your body, hey, it's time to start falling asleep, time to start getting sleepy, and that will help you have a better night's sleep. So this is one of the reasons I wear those blue blocking glasses. As soon as I turn the lights on in my house at night, I put those blue blockers on and I wear them. Even if I'm watching a show, even if I'm on my phone still, I make sure that I have the blue blockers on. Super, super important, and can really help you get a more restorative, deeper night's sleep. I'm a big fan of the True Dark brand, in case you're looking for a good one. That's the one I use, but they're really just an important thing to keep in mind. I put dimmers on all of the lights in my house so that in the evening, when I'm brushing my teeth, for example, I'll have the lights really dim in my bathroom to help me stay in that state where my body is really preparing for sleep and ready to fall asleep. Now, when it comes to sound, it is really important to make sure that you're not disturbed while you're sleeping. And I like to I'll do different layers of sound because we pick up different frequencies of noise. So when I used to live in a very loud downtown area, I would use a fan plus a sound machine plus earplugs sometimes just to block out all of the different frequencies of sound. So you may find that there are certain things that work best for you. If you don't mind sleeping with earbuds in, or if you're traveling, you can also find a white noise app on your phone that will just play a white noise sound while you're sleeping. And that can be really helpful because it's really close to your ears. I've also seen great sleep masks that play a sound in your ears and also block out light. I don't find them very comfortable, but they are available. So that might be a cool option for you. Now, look, guys, I know that not everybody is in a season of their life where getting a good night's sleep is going to be easy. When my puppies were little, I really struggled to get a good night's sleep because they were potty training and they needed me and they would wake me up constantly, or there would be an accident I would have to go deal with, and that's something that like we all sacrifice at some point our sleep. Like there are going to be times in your life when you can't get that great sleep. And that's why there are 4 pillars, right? We want to try to focus on, I never feel like I've got all 4 of my pillars perfectly dialed in, and I don't expect you to either. It's about all or something, not all or nothing. But do keep in mind that when you can, getting that really good quality sleep really does make a big, big difference. I mean, it really has an impact on whether you're going to lose muscle or you're going to lose body fat. When you don't sleep well, your hormones are so impacted. So if you can't get into that deep sleep stage, your hormones are impacted and it causes testosterone and growth hormone to drop, which impairs your recovery and makes it way harder to build muscle and lose fat. In fact, you may become more prone to actually storing body fat. I was mentioning before, I think that the lack of sleep, it does affect your hormones, and one of them it will affect is cortisol. And cortisol, of course, is the stress hormone. If you're not getting good sleep, cortisol levels can rise and remain elevated. The chronic high levels of cortisol can really inhibit your weight loss efforts and promote the breakdown of hard-earned muscle. It just interferes with the mechanism that repairs your muscle tissue, and that is really what we want to avoid, right? We especially want to avoid that as we get into our 40s, 50s, 60s, right? Because the more muscle we have, the less body fat we're probably going to have. We're going to burn more calories at rest, like we talked about before. And, carrying less fat on our body can be really healthy and helpful for our heart, our joints, and our overall levels of health, and just really help us have that higher quality of life that we're seeking, free of disease and free of issues and inflammation. So we really, really want to be mindful of our sleep. So I was going through the 5 senses. We talked about our sight, we talked about our sound, let's talk about our touch. So one thing that you may have thought of already, and you probably have already done this, but I love to create a really comfortable sleep environment, like have fabrics that I like touching my body, have things that feel good around me. And I personally really like linen. I use a duvet cover. It's lightweight, but it's also very cozy, and I like the feel of the linen. That might be just something to think about. Like, what are your preferences when it comes to your sleep environment? How heavy do you want your blanket to be, and what kind of fabric do you want it to be? Smell, another sense that we want to explore, can also be really valuable for helping you fall asleep. How does your room smell? Can you use some essential oils like lavender, for example, to help you fall asleep? And I know that there are a lot of people listening who are really into essential oils and probably have some amazing suggestions that they'll post on the show notes page for even more excellent options for helping you fall asleep at night. Some great scents that maybe you can put into a diffuser beside your bed, which could provide you with a little bit of humidity around you if that's something you want, and or give you some really good smells to help you drift off to sleep better. Now, the last one I'm going to mention is taste. And when it comes to taste is really a lot to do with what you eat before bed. So in a follow-up episode to this one, I'm going to get more deeply into how to see results faster when it comes to what you're eating. But I'll say for now that what you eat before bed and how long you go before bed without eating is really important in helping you have deeper and better quality sleep. So I would just be really mindful of not eating within a couple hours of bed if you can. I'd also be really mindful of alcohol consumption right before bed. Really be mindful of how much water you're consuming right before bed. Now, I don't want to limit anyone from drinking water. It's essential. You need water. Don't limit yourself, but be mindful of how much water you're drinking before bed so that you're not waking up in the middle of the night to have to go to the bathroom. That can be disruptive for your sleep, and you really can't control that. Your body will wake you up to help you. So just be really aware of what you're eating before bed, not having lots of sugar before bed, not eating food right before bed. I find it the best, especially in the evening, to make like a nourishing and satisfying cup of tea or 4-stigmatic hot chocolate, or one of those things that will just really nourish and satisfy me. And the 4-stigmatic hot chocolate is actually made with adaptogenic mushrooms, which are just great for your immune system and also just really nourishing for your brain health and your body in general. So that's something that you could try out. And also just making a nice cup of tea. I love having a nice cup of tea. And I don't have it right before bed, maybe a couple hours before, but it is something that sort of like it helps me to avoid late night snacking or cravings, which we're definitely going to talk more about in part 2 of the Seeing Results series, because I want to share with you some of the reasons why we get cravings and what you can do about them, because they're one of the biggest saboteurs in seeing results. Now, I want to check in with you because we've spent a lot of time today talking about actions we can take, actions that will lead to faster results. So before this episode ends today, I want you to make a commitment to yourself to take action on at least 2 of the things that I shared. And if you use the show notes page, there's a link to it right here in this episode. You'll find a pre-formatted commitment statement template for you to copy and paste either into the comments back to me in the show notes or just to use for yourself. Because every time you make a commitment to yourself and you see it through, you really strengthen one of the most important muscles of all, which is your mental muscle. That's also why I'm super excited for next week's conversation with intuition expert and psychic psychologist, Dr. Joy Martina, who will be guiding us through her 5-step intuition process. And she'll be sharing some amazing insights that will not only strengthen your mental muscle, but give you an edge in really seeing those physical results manifest faster as well. So I really look forward to connecting with you then. And until next time, Rockstar, I'm Betty Rocker, and you are so awesome and amazing. I'll talk to you real soon.
This podcast is for information purposes only. Statements and views expressed on this podcast are not medical advice. This podcast, including Brie Argetsinger, Betty Rocker Inc., and the producers disclaim responsibility for any possible adverse effects from the use of information contained herein. Opinions of guests are their own, and this podcast does not endorse or accept responsibility for statements made by guests. This podcast does not make any representations or warranties about guest qualifications or credibility. Individuals on this podcast may have a direct or indirect financial interest in products or services referred to herein. Before starting a new exercise, fitness or health protocol, or if you think you have a medical problem, always consult a licensed physician.